Alright, video response to the Modern Mystic. Sorry about the fan noise, but whatever. I'm using this right now. It's a good place to lean the camera. I'll come up with a better one, like over there, or whatever, something. Anyway, okay, so if we converted all the digits into cash, so Nick's basically saying the Federal Reserve would have to print cash to replace all the digits now in banks and all the electronic digits. So everything you owned, all the vaults would be full of cash because you'd have lots of digits that weren't being used but are just being in vaults, being switched back and forth. So all the digits in the computers are essentially not being cached now. They're just vault digits. So the argument could be made that this would be okay if you do it for a day. Okay, but if it had any kind of time thing to it, the fact is you lose all your relationship between good digits and bad digits. And so now all the really crappy digits are exactly the same as all the really good digits, and that's not good, because now people who would have been bankrupt aren't going to be bankrupt because now their crap stock that's monetized at a certain value is now cash when it's actually a piece of crap. So all the crap has now been made into cash. It's been made into a legitimate digit. It's a legitimate thing. And so the problem is it's tradable now for something of real value when it is of no value. And if it ever has to be cashed out, it's of no value because no one will pay cash for it. The only way people buy it is because you have to bribe them to buy it. Now, even when they're digital, if it was, so that's the real question. And again, the argument would be made to be inflationary, not in the sense that everybody tomorrow changes their habits and spends their savings. They're not going to do that. They're not going to spend their savings. They're not going to spend their investment capital. So if I change the rich man's stock into a cash vault full of cash, obviously that cash isn't moving in the economy. He's not spending it. Okay, it's spending that creates demand, right? So, I mean supply. So demand creates supply, right? So there's not necessarily going to be any expression of demand that's going to force the creation of supply, which can create, and if that supply isn't provided immediately, that's what can create inflation. Is the fact that there's not enough of something that somebody wants, or it can't be produced at a price people can pay. And that's the real game of inflation here, is that when we're talking about the people of modest income, inflation means something to them where it doesn't really mean anything to Mr. Rich Moneybags. Inflation doesn't change much except for how much income they might get in the future. But inflation to the poor man means I can't buy it anymore. I can't give my kid real milk. I have to give it powdered milk, or whatever the scenario is, because they can't afford to buy it at the higher price. So it's about what inflation means, I guess, is part of the question. But again, it wouldn't really matter in the short term if you did it for a day or two. But you couldn't run the economy that way, because now your standard has been polluted, is destroyed essentially by the fact of this huge volume of it. First, it's now no longer precious, right? If I turned everything into gold, obviously gold wouldn't sell for anything, right? You couldn't sell a piece of gold on the market. If I turn all the digits into gold, is anybody going to want gold anymore? I mean, everybody's going to say, wait, I got enough gold. I need stuff. I need food. I need this other stuff. So, I don't know if that gets exactly, I don't know if it's enough of an answer for you. What I'm saying is you can't run an economy that way. You could do it for a day or two. You could play with it as an idea for a week maybe. But I think longer than that, and everything starts to fall apart, because now there's no, risk doesn't mean anything. And exactly how could you even, you couldn't even make sense of it to say that now there would be an equality between even stocks or something, because they all got converted into cash. Stock digits, I don't know, I guess you'd have to go how deep into the digital pool you're going to go, to say how destructive this would be if it was actual cash. And one could imagine if there was that much cash, you know, that people might think that Yellowstone Park is a bargain, you know, at $500 billion or something. You know, because you'd have made so much, you know, that you know, commodities might look awful attractive if you have that much cash floating around. If that much of the bubble money, the high risk money, is all of a sudden no risk money, then people are going to feel a lot richer. I think that's going to happen. Yeah, I think when you guarantee everybody's investment in one day, just guarantee everybody's investment capital, I think you're probably going to liberate spending on the rich side. Yeah, you won't change Joe Schmo's behavior any, because turning his digits into cash just means you turned $120 in his checking account into cash. So what? But we know that the investment people now would have a certainty of their value. They wouldn't have to sell it. I mean, traders will tell you, you know, there's a price on something on the market, and they'll sell it for 75% of that price, you know, and be happy. So there's lots of stuff that's way overvalued because nobody drags it to market. And what you're essentially saying, we're going to drag it to a perfect market where everybody gets the absolute highest price for it. Obviously, you can't sell the stock market, right? If people start selling the stock market, you don't get the same price for the first share you sell as you get for the last sell, right? The guy selling the last share is going to get a penny, and the guy sold the first share gets $1,000. So you've broken that even. So, you know, just imagine the sense of wealth the wealthy would feel if they were sitting on all cash. For exactly, they cashed out of everything without any diminishment in the value at the high. So they get to cash out everything, never sell anything at the low, never sell anything for a penny. They're going to feel incredibly rich. They're going to buy everything. And the higher the prices they buy these things at, the higher price the average person pays, which is going to be huge inflation. They'll start buying every farm in the world, and they won't care about how much they pay for it because they have a ton of cash. They can pay anything for it. 10 million, 5 million, who cares? 25, 30, 40, 50 million, who cares? But they will run the farm as if they have to make money. And so prices at the farm are going to go up. The commodity prices will go up. And that's the danger of inflation, is that people who need something, their needs get priced out of the market. Yeah. So, but I mean, as a thought experiment, I just don't think it has any practical reality. And as I've suggested, it would never be sensible for the government to insure all the digits in existence. It would be idiotic. And there should be a procedure for cashing out bank digits. There should be FDIC standards, and I think they've broken FDIC insurance, as I've stated, so I can't even use that as an example. But there should be like FDIC 1 and FDIC 2, or however you want to look at it. But there should be really secure investment capital and less secure investment capital, and that should be acknowledged, and there should be a clear distinction in how those claims are treated. And one might be, yes, you're immediately entitled to the cash, and another one might be you're entitled to it sometime in the next 6 months when enough cash moves through the environment that I can get the cash to pay you. We have to sell some shit, you know, to monetize it, to get you the cash. So they'd have to wait for it. As I explained, it's all about time. It's about the time it takes to unravel the mortgage, and it's about the time it takes to, you know, get back the investment capital in a future project, which you're probably only going to get 10 cents on the dollar, right? So that's a problem. I mean, you can't take back future profits. You can't make future profits realizable in the present. So if you've invested in future profits, you don't have an entitlement to cash for your digits. You got to wait for it. Maybe 10 years. Yeah. So we'll give you enough to buy food, but I wouldn't give them any more than that. So if, you know, Mr. Moneybags owns something that's going to pay off in 10 years, well, Mr. Moneybags, you know, can eat pizza for a while instead of caviar. I really think this is an answer to the question. I think it's a ludicrous thought experiment in the sense that you can't realize the real instruments that exist in the world, which are all leveraged instruments and like stocks, where the first dollar is going to be worth more than the last dollar. And if you were to actually convert, if the Fed was actually stupid enough to actually print all of this cash to give everybody cash at the same time, you lose the whole meaning of the market currency. You lose its whole ability to convert value into a dollar denomination. And clearly, if the America did this and no other country did it, the value of the dollar on those international markets would turn to shit. So the exchange rate would be like, you know, it'd be 1 yen to $1 million. You know, it would be a disaster, in my opinion. No, enough said.